All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a super frustrating but honestly incredibly common problem in modern web development. And more importantly, we're exploring a really fascinating solution. We're looking at TasteSkill, which is basically a system designed to cure AI of its worst design habits. If you've used coding agents recently, you know the functionality is just incredible, right? But the visual output usually needs some serious help.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. We're going to start with the AI slop problem, introduce TasteSkill, and then really dig into the 3 anti-slop dials. After that, we'll check out its hardened design rules, the V2 front-end stack, and finally, how all of this steers the AI future. Section 1, the AI slot problem and those generic AI design traits.
So here's the thing. Coding agents like Cursor and V0 have this unimaginable power to wire up complex apps in literal seconds. But it begs a massive question that developers are asking right now. Why do AI landing pages look so incredibly generic? You know the exact look I'm talking about. You land on a page and your brain immediately flags it. You just know an AI built this. It always defaults to the absolute lowest common denominator of design patterns.
Well, this phenomenon actually has a name. It's called slop. Slop refers to those generic telltale AI design patterns. It's that fake div-based browser Chrome wrapped around a completely generic dashboard screenshot. It's the AI's bizarre obsession with using excessive em-dashes to connect totally unrelated thoughts. And it's those tiny little section number eyebrows, like 01 about us, placed above every single header on the page just because the AI thinks it makes things look premium. These tropes make websites look cheap, template-driven, and completely devoid of actual human taste.
Section 2, introducing TasteSkill, curing AI of bad design.
Enter TasteSkill. It's an open-source project that serves as the ultimate antidote to this generic design. To understand just how badly the developer community needed this, look at this number, 63,000. That is how many stars the TasteSkill repository is rocketed to on GitHub, simply because the pain point of AI slop is just that universal.
But here is what's really interesting about what TasteSkill actually is, or rather, what it isn't. It's not an NPM package. You don't just run npm install TasteSkill. It's not a React component library like shadcn or Material UI either. It's literally an instruction manual. Specifically, it ships an instruction file that coding agents read at runtime. You install it using the Vercel Agent Skills CLI, and it sits right there in your project, giving your AI explicit front-end design rules before it writes a single line of code.
Section 3, the 3 anti-slop dials, steering layout and motion.
Now, this right here is the central mechanism of the whole system. The core reason AI outputs slop is that it's averaging out all of its training data. So to prevent that, you have to force the AI away from the middle. Think of it like a mixing board for a music producer. Inside the core skill file, you have these 3 specific dials that take values from 1 to 10, design variance, motion intensity, and visual density. Let's break down exactly why these 3 dials working together fundamentally prevent the slop problem.
First up, we have design variance. Look, AI absolutely loves symmetry. Symmetry is safe, it's mathematically easy, and it is incredibly boring. TasteSkill pushes the default variance way up to an 8. By cranking this to 8 out of 10, you are explicitly instructing the AI to break out of those symmetric grids and build highly asymmetric editorial layouts. If you look at the Floria demo and their examples, you see this gorgeous magazine-style asymmetric hero section. It immediately shatters the illusion of an AI template because it demands a structural rhythm that default AIs naturally try to avoid.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next dial, motion intensity. Default AI outputs are so static. TasteSkill sets this default to a solid 6. And we're not just talking about adding cheap CSS fades here. This instructs the agent to implement dynamic GSAP pin and scrub mechanics. We're talking high-end, scroll-driven animations. It forces the UI to have physical weight and professional interactivity, instantly elevating it way above your standard AI slop.
The third piece of the puzzle is visual density. Left entirely to its own devices, AI will cram a page with walls of text and super tight margins just to show off how much information it generated. TasteSkill intentionally drops this dial down to a 4. A lower number forces the AI to keep things nice and airy. It mandates the generous, luxurious spacing that premium UI actually requires. And this is the magic. By tuning variance high for unique structure, motion to the middle high for rich interactivity, and density low for breathing room, these 3 dials combine to actively block the AI's most average instincts. That is the secret to preventing slop.
Section 4, hardened design rules and banning AI design tells.
So the dials set the mood.
right? But TasteSkill is also an aggressive enforcer. Honestly, think of it like a ruthless bouncer at an exclusive design club. It looks at the AI's default tendencies on the left, the fake screenshots, the section number eyebrows, and strictly bans them at the door. Instead, it demands the premium traits on the right. We're talking generous spacing, isolated GSAP client components, mathematically checked WCAG button contrast. It doesn't just politely suggest these things, it enforces them as an absolute prerequisite for any code it outputs.
In fact, if you look at Section 9 of the skill file, the instructions are almost humorously strict. It literally institutes a, quote, complete M-ban, no exceptions. It knows that AIs use M-dashes as a massive crutch for poor copywriting, so it just removes the tool from the AI's toolbox entirely. It's exactly this level of hardened, super-specific discipline that makes the final output actually feel human.
Section 5. The V2 Front-End Stack, Modern Production Tools.
Now you might be wondering, does this actually output code you can use in production today? Absolutely, yes. The default stack is incredibly modern. It forces the agent to use React and Next.js leveraging server components while keeping interactive motion safely isolated in client islands. It dictates the brand new Tailwind CSS v4. For motion, it requires Motion/React and GSAP ScrollTrigger, while expressly forbidding cheap, buggy scroll listeners. And check out the icons. It requires phosphor or huge icons and specifically discourages loose-side icons. Why? Because loose-side is the default for literally every single AI boilerplate template on the internet right now. TasteSkill avoids it on purpose to keep your site from looking like a clone.
Plus, the V2 workflow isn't just throwing code at a wall to see what sticks. It forces the agent through rigorous, professional steps. First, there's a mandatory brief inference, where the AI has to prove it actually understands the goal. Second, it creates a design system map to ensure consistency. And finally, it runs a pre-flight checklist before it is ever allowed to ship the UI to you. It basically treats the AI like a junior developer reporting to a very strict senior architect.
Section 6. Steering the AI Future. AI requires human taste.
So, what does this highly structured approach actually mean for us as creators going forward? Well, the main takeaway is this. AI doesn't replace taste. It actually requires it more than ever. Tools like Cursor and Claude are undeniably powerful engines, for sure. But an engine without a steering wheel is just going to crash into a wall of slop. You, the creator, still need a robust system to provide that design discipline. You still have to be the tastemaker. So I'll leave you with this to think about. How will you inject your own taste into your next AI project? Are you going to settle for the default, boring templates, or will you grab those 3 dials, enforce your own strict rules, and take absolute control of your output? The tools are right there, waiting for your direction. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.